With Season 11 only days away, here's a quick wishlist of mine for the next big update of the finals. No fancy intro, let's just get into it. The centerpiece of every new season of the finals consists of 3 variables: new toys, weapons, gadgets, specializations, new gameplay, maps, game modes, and a new theme. Let's start off with the theme, which has pretty much already been announced. Hi, this is Editing Astro. As I was editing this, I actually realized that they actually posted a teaser trailer, which is space theme, which is what I wanted. As voiceover Astro is talking, I might interrupt and say, well, we might not get this, we might actually get this instead, because of the new information we now have. Anyways, enjoy the video. There is going to be a full reaction at the end to the teaser trailer. Stay tuned for that. What I really want for the theme is a neo-futuristic / Raygun Gothic space motif. Like I said, while we did get a space theme, it wasn't exactly what I was preparing for. I was expecting something more 1950s / 1960s coded, but it looks like we got something more 80s style. It reminds me of a sci-fi Saturday morning cartoon, which I personally really like. Imagine playing on a 1950s / 1960s style moon base with unique low gravity sections like that one in the Halo 2 level. While we may not get a 1950s / 1960s style iteration of what a moon base might be, we could get the same map concept, just a different aesthetic style. Something I just thought of is almost if you're on this giant spaceship moving through the cosmos. Will the pros probably complain? Yeah, possibly, but who cares about them? Imagine some weapons that seem sci-fi but are actually real, like an F-2000 or railguns. I said this because every season the finals has added new weapons. They're based on real-life examples. However, with Season 10 having a fictional crossbow launcher, they could honestly make some new design for Season 11 that's based on plasma or something like that. Or some gadgets from sci-fi media like jetpacks or a phase rewind ability, similar to Titanfall 2. Embark already has a lot of creative freedom with a game like the finals. It's technically on augmented reality. So I'd say go balls to the wall and give crazy stuff. Imagine fighting in these huge warehouses where canisters and boxes are flying all over the place because of low gravity. What if there's a Point Break map where you have to take control of a rocket and the final push is on the moon? These may be dumb ideas, but they only took me a minute to come up with. Imagine the time Embark has to think of crazy, unique ways to make this theme interesting and satisfying. Which, sadly, I don't think they'll add much. As Embark has said before, Season 12 is supposed to be the biggest season ever, and I'm going to assume that they probably put more work into that one than Season 11. However, they might use this season as a testing one to see if any of these changes might make it into Season 12 permanently. Imagine more respec updates, etc. It may be something Embark has never done before, but I'd much rather have them constantly change the way they make stuff than just doing the same thing over and over again. That's more fun. Speaking of fun, I would love to have more balanced updates. From around Season 8 to Season 10, it feels like they weren't really changing anything. Sure, Season 7 didn't have the best adjustments, but I'd much rather have constant shakeups than a boring long-term meta. Touching on the meta, let's talk about that right now. While the meta doesn't affect casual games to a microscopic level, it definitely trickles down to what majority of players play because it influences performance and ease of use. In our current meta, medium isn't seen as much. Because of their low survivability, they're seen as a less desirable compared to light, which can do everything they can but better. Let's hope some good fixes can return this game to Season 7's HML composition, which lets every class shine. So what would Embark do? I'm not sure. There are a lot of routes you can go, but I prefer buffs to medium over nerfs to light. Make them more independent. Remember, they're a jack-of-all-trades class, not just support. Let's stop talking about the stuff sweats are interested in, but instead talk about something everyone likes: quality of life. Since it felt like the past 3 seasons were quality of life major updates, I have little to say here. I hope they improve stuff like servers and destruction as always. Some sections of the map definitely feel more prone to being obliterated, like the arcade in Nozomi or the top left corner of Sector 4 in Fortune. It's always annoying playing in a bunch of rubble, so I'd like it to be a bit more strong. Also, can we please keep old game modes and private matches? Sure, Terminal Attack wasn't the best, but it'd be nice to play anytime I want. Same thing with LTMs like Cash Ball and Dragon's Claim. I'm glad that the Academy is being expanded, but what I'm particularly looking for are specific scenarios for people to play in, like how to stall a cash out, move effectively, etc. Speaking of new players, please update how they're invited into the game. But cash is too chaotic, something like TDM works better as our first matches to get a lay of the land on how certain weapons and gadgets feel. I get that Embark wants them to feel what it's like to play cash out in a more beginner mode, but free teams just makes it way too confusing in my opinion. Show them more of the fun, casual game modes like Point Break 2, and then slowly adjust them to cash out to show the more competitive side of this game. Or you could just add them to the bot matches if they're added in for some reason. For a quick mention on stuff that makes Embark direct money, for cosmetics, I would love free site colors like what they did for the nails. Some skins look horrible with black site, so this would be great to add more customizability. And if Nexon is watching this, it will probably increase the finals profit since your stocks aren't looking the best. There's one major thing I forgot to talk about in this video, and it's the melee rework. I have one thing to say: don't mess it up. We've seen again and again that Embark cannot be trusted with balancing melee, and while I'm not a melee user myself, I definitely would have been if it had a higher skill ceiling with more dynamic ways to play. Basically, what I'm asking of the dev team is not make melee brain dead like the sword. It should be difficult but advanced. You can't get your cake and eat it too by saying stuff like we want to make melee high skill without any tech. If people think melee shouldn't even be in this game, we'll probably still have the same opinion, even if the melee rework is one of the best balanced patches. So focus on the users of melee, because I'm pretty sure they're losing their minds. Hi, editing Astro again for the second time, because while I was editing this, Embark released another teaser specifically about melee. In this teaser, the design director for Embark, Matt Lowe, basically said how they adjusted every single melee weapon, which is something you already knew, specifically stuff like swing speed and damage, stuff like that. However, the thing I want to note about is that he said they added 2 new systems to counter melee. Now, he only said that. My prediction for one of them is a parry system, something where if someone tries to attack you, you can try to maybe quickly fight back in some way. And the other one, I have no idea. A game like the Finals already has so much mechanics just baked into its DNA that adding more onto them might make the game a bit overtuned, I suppose. However, something important to note is that you can actually see in the background the map, or at least that's what the map would probably be. Sorry if you heard that firework, I'm currently recording this at 4th of July. From what it looks like, it might be like a giant research facility on a different planet, so that's pretty cool. The map shape can even be this giant circle to represent like a giant dome with glass that's protecting you from the elements, but there's a bunch of small hallways and buildings, different sections that kind of, make the environment very diverse. Anyways, that's all that I kind of have to say from this melee teaser. I hope stuff is not added as in teasers so I don't have to keep editing this video. Speaking of losing their minds, ranked players. As someone who's gotten to rank this season, which I am planning to make a video about my ranked journey, the issue of smurfing is front and center for me. I know plenty of people who have alt accounts not to purposely dunk on lower players, but to solo queue ranked, etc. However, I still think it shouldn't be allowed or have heavy restrictions. Even if you're not using your alt account for necessarily bad reasons, there's still so many variables that affect the finals. First of all, you're probably dunking on some new players, which most likely prevents them from staying. Another major reason is that while Embark keeps Smurf accounts, it probably messes with their data when they use it so much for balancing. Overall, if Embark keeps Smurfing in, it will eventually rot their game in some way. This is why I want some clarity from the dev team, which I feel like we barely get as a community. On the note of clarity, something I would really like is little documentary videos, similar for the ones they did for Season 10. Overall, that's my major thing I want from this, is more clarity from Embark and their devs. Going off script, I feel like Embark just doesn't like telling the community what actually happens, and while it is fun to have surprises, there are some genuine moments where we just need information and they refuse to give it to us. It's annoying, it's always been this way, but I hope they rethink the way they tell us stuff so the community is more intertwined with Embark. I think a great example of this is that we got a roadmap for your next season, but we got nothing ahead of it. So we just hope that Season 12 will be the biggest season, like they constantly say. Apologies for the slightly salty ending, but if Embark wants this game to keep pushing forward, they need to address major issues that plague the finals. So here's a quick 1-minute reaction of mine for the teaser trailer. The first things I see are weapon skins. I see one for the 93R and one for the Cerberus, which I'm excited for, and one possibly for the Shack or FAMAS. I cannot tell if that weapon, but the way the character holds it reminds me of the way that the Heavy holds the Shack in the loading screen. I'm going to predict that all of the costumes shown right now are part of the Premium Battle Pass and not part of the Ultimate one, but I'm betting that the Ultimate Battle Pass effect is going to be some stars behind your character. We also have a new sponsor, which is Kometa. The only thing we know about the sponsor is the logo. That's pretty much it. However, they have seemed to be part of the game since the closed alpha, since they're shown in the closed alpha video. And even for the 5 Fears esports bundle, their sponsor is Kometa. But that's pretty much all we know about them. So we don't know what type of business they are, what their CEO looks like, etc. What I'm betting, because of their theming and their name, is that probably something related to space. They could be a space defense system, similar to Alpha Acta, but for intergalactic stuff. Maybe they're ones that specialize in building rockets. There could be so much possibilities, and I'm excited to see what the lore has for this one. Considering that every sponsor track has 2 of them now, I'm assuming the possible second sponsor is CNS, Volpe, or Trentia, since they all have 1 sponsor track. However, they might repeat what they did in Season 10, where there was only 1 sponsor track added for Alpha Acta. I hope that's not the case. I hope more stuff is added. Other than that, there's not much to say here. We might get more information like an extended trailer. However, it seems like everything is going to be revealed at the launch of Season 11, which is July 9th. which means I'll have to wake up at 5:30 a.m. to watch the reveal, so it is what it is, I suppose. If you want to see other stuff I wish for but hasn't been added yet, there's probably like a laundry list of ideas in my previous video. I'm making a lot of content for the finals soon, so make sure to subscribe and like. I know there's been a huge break in between my content from like January past, but some stuff got in the way, and I have hundreds of ideas for the finals that no one has ever done before, and I hope you're here to see them all happen. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Have a great rest of your day, and remember, stay amazing.